All right, functions. We are continuing to add and subtract, and we're going to cover a couple different scenarios. So if you notice that right here, I added a step. I add, if you can factor the denominator, you should. So one way to do this problem is the way that we've been doing it, and I'll go through that with you guys. So our least common denominator is going to be x minus 3. And then we have a 3 minus x, which is different. Okay, so I can, then I need to create the least common denominator, so I'm going to multiply this by 3 minus x, and this one, I have to do that top and bottom. 3 minus x. And then I'm going to multiply this one by x minus 3. There's a minus there. Okay, so then I end up with 2 times 3 minus x plus 1. Alright, so we have 1 times x minus 3, and all of that's going to be over our common denominator of x minus 3 times 3 minus x. Okay, so now the next step is we've created the LCD now. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot to do the domain. You guys should have caught me. We have to state the domain. So I'm going to do that from the LCD. So then I get that it's all real numbers such that x cannot equal, it looks like 3 or negative 3. Okay, so then we get 2 times 3, so we have to distribute. I'm going to distribute this. And we end up with 2 times 3, which is 6x. 2 times negative x is negative 2x. 1 times x is plus x, and 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Alright, so now we have that, and we still have our common denominator. Now we need to combine our like terms. So we've got a bunch of x's. Oh, whoops, this is not 6x, this is just 6. So then we have 6 minus 3. So this is going to equal 6 minus 3 is 3. Negative 2 plus x is negative 1. All over x minus 3 minus x. Then we need to find something that's exactly the same on the top and the bottom, which these are exactly the same on the top and the bottom. And we end up with 1 over x minus 3. So that would be our final answer. Another way to do this, so go ahead and I'm going to show you another way to do this. That's a little bit easier, but this way works just fine. Okay, so another way to do this is that I could factor out a negative 1 out of this, because remember, this is an x minus 3, so that I get a common denominator. So I could do negative 1 times, and then negative 1 times 3 is negative 3, and the negative 1 times x is positive x. So that's the same as this. So then I have a lowest common denominator of x minus 3 from here, and then I'm just missing a negative 1. This is just a quicker way to do it. Our domain is going to be where x cannot equal positive 3. So now what we're going to, positive 3, and then if we had, yeah, it's positive 3. Okay, so then what we're going to do is I need to multiply the top and the bottom over this one by negative 1. Right there. Then I get negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Here I have a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, so that turns into this. I can't have a negative in the denominator, so this turns into a positive, and this turns into a negative. And then what I'm going to do is put my numerator together, and I get 2 plus negative 1 over x minus 3, because the ones are positive 1, so I don't need to keep it. And I end up with 1 over x minus 3. So it doesn't really matter which way we do it. I'm going to get the same answer no matter what. But I wanted to show you two different ways to do it. Okay, so now we have this one, and we are going to add and subtract, because now we've got three fractions. And again, if I can factor, I should. And I can factor this. So just like before, I'm going to factor a GCF, so x, and then x times x, and then x minus 5. Okay, so that gives me the same thing. So then I end up with, I'm looking at this, my LCD is going to be, okay, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so I rewrote this. So then I end up with, I'm going to, remember, I always like to put my parentheses around these so I remember. So then I start with everything that's in the first denominator, which is x minus 5. Then I have an x, which is different. Then, oh look, x and x minus 5. I've already written it. I don't have to do anything more. It's already there. So then I work on my domain, which is all real numbers, such that, so the value of x is going to make this 0 is 5. So x cannot equal positive 5. And the value of x of that would be 0. So that can't equal 5 or 0. That says, there we go. Okay, so now I need to multiply the top and the bottom by whatever's missing. So I already have an x minus 5. But to get this least common denominator, I need to multiply this by x and this by x. This one already has the x, but it's missing the x minus 5. So x minus 5 over x minus 5. And then this one already has the common denominator, so I don't have to do anything with it. So then I end up with this. So this is the same thing, but without scribble, so you can read it a little bit better. All right, so we have factored. We have found the LCD and we stated the domain. We've created the least common denominator. Now we need to do the operations. So remember, this plus sign is going to go up, and this minus sign is going to go up like that. So we're going to end up with 4x plus negative 2 times x minus 5 minus 10 all over my common denominator, x times x minus 5. So now I'm going to distribute this negative 2 to this, and I end up with 4x plus negative 2x plus 10 minus 10. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. I have 4x minus 2x, which is 2x, and 10 minus 10, which is 0, and I end up with 2x over x times x minus 5. Now remember, this is multiplication. There's no plus or minus in between here, and there's no plus or minus in between here. So then I can find myself a big 1, because now I've done everything I can in the numerator, and I end up with 2 over x minus 5. Okay, so if you have questions, please write them down, let me know, and ask them in class. All right, now let's do this one. Go ahead and write this down and hit pause. Okay, so then the next thing I want to do, these are not the same. So if I can factor, I should, and the factors of negative 4 that add to 3 are positive 4 and negative 1, and the factors of 12 that add to 7 are 3 and 4. So then I end up with this. So then I'm going to write everything that's in the denominator, a plus 4 times a minus 1. Then I'm going to look here. Oh, look, I don't have an a plus 3. And then I'm going to do my domain. So I get all real numbers such that a cannot equal, the value of a that'll make this 0 is negative 4. The value of a that'll make that 0 is 1. Negative 4. And the value of this a would be negative 3. All right, so I've got the domain. So I factored. I found the LCD. I stated the domain. Now I need to create it. So this has a plus 4 and a minus 1, but it doesn't have a plus 3. So we need to multiply that by a plus 3. And then this one doesn't have the a minus 1. So there it is all together. So now I have that. So now I'm going to create my one fraction. I'm going to move my minus sign to go with the negative, with the 4a. And I'm going to write it all over my common denominator. Now I only have one common denominator, so I can do some stuff with the numerator, because that's what it says. Do the operations in the numerator. So I'm going to distribute my negative a. I'm going to distribute my negative 4a. And I end up with negative a squared plus 3a, and now I need to combine my terms. I end up with negative 5a squared plus a. The last thing I want to do is make sure if I factor this, can I make this, write it in lowest terms? So I'm going to check. It looks like I can factor out a negative a, and then I end up with 5a minus 1. And so if I have that, I'm going to write that over here. So negative a times 5a, minus 1, that's a minus 1, all over a plus 4, a minus 1, a plus 3. Okay, nothing simplifies. I don't have any big ones. So then my final answer would actually be that will be what I came up with, the negative 5a squared plus a. If you have it in factored form, that's fine, but in the online homework, that will be marked wrong. Okay, so let's try this one. Go ahead and hit pause and write this down. All right, so the two denominators are different, so I'm going to go ahead and factor. So the factors of 9 that add to negative 6 are negative 3 and negative 3. The factors of negative 15 that add to 2 are negative 3 and 5. And so I am going to factor that. So I end up with an LCD of p minus 3. Oh, I've got another one, so I'm going to write it again. P minus 3. And this one already has a p minus 3, but it does also have a p plus 5. Okay, I'm going to write all real numbers such that p does not equal 3 or negative 5. All right, now I have p squared here, and that's just because I don't want to write this twice. So then I need to multiply this to get to this. So I need p minus 3, and a p plus 5. So I have the two p minus 3's. I need to multiply this by p plus 5. And I need to multiply this one by, well, I have the p plus 5, the p minus 3. I need to multiply it by one more p minus 3, because I only have one. Now, anytime I see a p minus 3, I can just write it like this, because these two things mean the same thing. So that is what I'm going to do. All right, now I need to write one big fraction. So this plus sign is going to go up this way, and I need to distribute now. So I have factored, I found the LCD, I stated the domain, I created the LCD, it's right here, and now I need to do the operation. So I need to do 4 times p, 4 times 5, which is 20, and I need to do 1 times p and 1 times negative 3, which gets me 4p plus 20, and then I need to combine my terms. So I have 4p plus p, which is 5p, and 20 plus negative 3, which is 17, and I end up with 5p plus 17 over p minus 3 squared times p plus 5. The last thing I need to check to see if the numerator can be factored, which it cannot, and so I am done. That is going to be my final answer. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great weekend, and good luck on your formative tomorrow.